Bangkok International Airport, January 2013. A young man in his 20s, wearing jeans, a casual shirt, and a calm smile, strolls through the terminal. He doesn't look like a threat. No alarms ring, no one runs. But behind that smile lies one of the most wanted cybercriminals in the world. His name? Unknown to most. But to the FBI, he is known as BX1. The digital phantom who infiltrated over 200 financial institutions, siphoned away millions of dollars, and became a ghost in the global banking system. What was most shocking? He didn't do it with violence, with force, or with weapons. He did it with code. Clean, silent, devastating code. As security agents approach him on the concourse, there are no screams, no chase, just a flash of realization across his face, followed by the same smile that earned him the nickname, the Smiling Hacker. But the real story doesn't begin with his arrest. It begins in a small town in Algeria, where a gifted child with a computer and internet access would one day challenge the financial powers of the world. This is not a tale of bloodshed or betrayal. It's a story of intellect gone rogue, of a modern-day outlaw whose weapon was a keyboard, and whose battlefield was the digital world. Stay till the end, because the question isn't just how he did it, but why. Origins in Algeria. In the mountainous Kabylie region of northern Algeria, nestled within the town of Tizi Ouzou, a boy named Hamza Bendelladj was born in 1988. Growing up in a modest home with traditional values, Hamza was no ordinary child. While other children played outside, he spent hours glued to a computer screen, navigating command lines, and teaching himself the language of machines. His father, a teacher, hoped his son would one day bring pride to the family through academics, and Hamza did, but in ways no one could have predicted. By the age of 16, he had already mastered complex programming languages. By 18, he was breaking into networks just for the thrill, not to harm, but to see if he could. At university, he studied computer science and network security. Professors noticed his brilliance, but also his restlessness. He was the type who solved challenges before they were even fully presented. Behind his calm demeanor was a mind that refused to play by the ordinary rules. He wasn't driven by greed, at least not initially. It was curiosity, the question of, what if? What if one could outsmart the world's most secure systems? What if financial giants weren't as untouchable as they seemed? These weren't just questions for Hamza. They were puzzles begging to be solved. And so, in the silence of his small Algerian room, behind the glow of a monitor, the blueprint for one of the world's most dangerous digital weapons began to form. SpyEye. A Trojan unlike any before. A virus that would soon shake the world banking system to its core. The making of a cyber ghost. Before he became the smiling face of one of the world's most elusive cybercrimes, Hamza Bendelladj was just another gifted student from Tizi Ouzou, Algeria. Born in 1988, he grew up in a modest home with strong cultural roots. But unlike others in his neighborhood, Hamza had an unusual obsession: computers. While other kids played soccer in the streets, Hamza sat in dusty internet cafes, learning the language of machines. By the time he reached university, he had already outpaced his teachers. Enrolled in the University of Science and Technology Houari Boumediene in Algiers, Hamza majored in computer science, but his real education came after class. It was in hidden IRC chat rooms, obscure hacking forums, and darknet message boards, where Hamza began to evolve into something much more dangerous. Under the alias BX1, he started experimenting with intrusion tools, phishing tactics, and malware deployment. He wasn't just learning code, he was building weapons. But here's the twist. Hamza wasn't interested in just small-time hacks. He had ambition. He didn't want to scam individuals, he wanted systems, institutions, and banks. His first big step into cybercrime came when he partnered with an elusive Russian coder who had built a malware called SpyEye, a malicious software that could infiltrate bank systems and quietly siphon funds without leaving a trace. It was elegant, powerful, and terrifyingly effective. Hamza wasn't just using SpyEye, he was improving it, customizing it, and selling it on underground forums. He was becoming a supplier of digital chaos, a name whispered in cybercrime circles. respected not just for his skills, but for the precision of his attacks. The boy from Algeria had officially become a ghost in the system. The SpyEye storm begins. By 2009, Hamza Bendelladj was no longer just a brilliant coder, he was a rising architect of digital warfare. Armed with the SpyEye toolkit, Hamza and his unnamed Russian partner unleashed chaos on a scale that sent ripples across international financial networks. But they didn't just use SpyEye for their own operations. Hamza went one step further. He began selling the SpyEye software to other cybercriminals around the world, each copy tailored, upgraded, and deadlier than before. SpyEye was no ordinary malware. Once planted inside a victim's computer, it would lie dormant, silent but watching. It could log keystrokes, harvest banking credentials, and give full remote access to Hamza and his clients. At its peak, SpyEye had infected over 1.4 million computers across the globe. From the US to Europe, banks began noticing unexplained fund transfers, account breaches, and vanishing customer balances. And yet, Hamza did all this without stepping outside his apartment. While most cybercriminals feared the spotlight, Hamza thrived in it. He flaunted his lifestyle, luxury hotels, first-class flights, expensive gadgets. He was bold, reckless, and oddly charming. His nickname? The Smiling Hacker. Photos of him grinning confidently, even while being escorted by authorities, would later go viral. But that moment was still years away. As millions flowed from unsuspecting bank accounts, Hamza laundered the money through complex digital pipelines. He was building a life of opulence and helping fund other cyber actors along the way. In total, experts estimate the SpyEye campaign was responsible for draining over $100 million from financial institutions. Still, with every system he breached, Hamza felt untouchable, a ghost above the grid. But behind the curtains, intelligence agencies had begun to take notice. A silent manhunt had begun, and the hunter was becoming the hunted. The fall began. For years, Hamza Bendelladj danced through cyberspace untouched, but every performance ends. By 2013, international agencies were closing in. His digital fingerprints were everywhere. Drained bank accounts, breached firewalls, and quiet whispers in cybercrime circles. But it wasn't a grand heist that brought him down. It was a simple flight connection in Bangkok. At Suvarnabhumi Airport, Hamza was intercepted calmly, silently. No gunfire, no chase. Just a smile on his face, even in handcuffs. Photos of his arrest spread like wildfire. To some, he was a cyber Robin Hood. To others, a fraudster who crippled banks. The world was split. Was he a hero or a thief? But one thing was clear. The myth had met reality. Hamza wasn't vanishing anymore. He was caught, grounded, and headed for a courtroom that wouldn't care for charisma or cleverness. This was no longer a game. It was the beginning of his global unraveling. The international trap. Interpol had been silently watching. Hamza's online activity, once brazen and untraceable, had started leaving trails, crypto wallets, hotel logins, encrypted emails slipping into global surveillance nets. From Dubai to Malaysia, agencies compiled a silent profile. It wasn't a matter of if he'd be caught, but when. A coordinated sting began. His photos circulated discreetly through embassies, airports, and cyber units. The plan was to let him feel invisible, right before making him disappear. By the time Hamza landed in Bangkok for what he thought was another safe escape, the trap was already closing, quiet, calculated, and international. The arrest and global frenzy. January 2013, Bangkok International Airport. Hamza Bendelladj stepped off his flight, unaware that his next step would echo worldwide. Thai authorities acting on an Interpol red notice moved swiftly. In seconds, he was in custody. No resistance, no drama. But the global media exploded. Photos of him smiling during arrest spread like wildfire. That smile, calm, cocky, defiant, became iconic. Was he proud? Was it arrogance? Or a final message to the digital underworld? For millions online, he became a folk hero. For law enforcement, he was a major victory. The cyber thief had finally been unplugged. The world watched, stunned, prison walls and broken myths. Inside the stark silence of a U.S. prison, Hamza Bendelladj faded from global headlines. The man once hailed as a digital Robin Hood now faced reality. 23-hour lockdowns, concrete walls, and no screens to touch. Rumors of his charity faded. What remained were federal charges and a sentence that chained him for decades. The internet, once his playground, became a memory. His smile, once iconic, disappeared behind prison bars. Those who once admired him were left questioning. Was he a hero misjudged, or a mastermind cloaked in charm? Whatever the truth, Hamza's legend was now locked away, indefinitely. Hamza Bendelladj's story is a haunting blend of genius, deception, and duality. A man who danced between heroism and havoc, smiling in handcuffs, charming in the courtroom, and polarizing in the public eye. Was he a cyber villain or a misunderstood rebel with a cause? The truth lies tangled in codes and headlines, but one thing is certain: his actions left a permanent scar on the digital world. As prison walls swallowed the myth, the internet remembered the legend. Because in the shadows of cyberspace, stories like Hamza's never truly end. They just go offline, waiting to be discovered again.
The case may be closed, but criminology never sleeps. Like and subscribe to join Criminology and step deeper into the dark with us.